If your bank account is sitting at zero, but somehow you are still caught spending money like nothing has changed, then that is not enjoyment. That is you avoiding reality. Because when your account is on red, it's not a season for extra spending or distractions. It's actually a time to set back and reset your mind and figure out your next move. So if you are in that situation right now, here are 5 things you should focus on until you move past this season. And just a quick welcome if you're new here, my name is Funke Suyi. On this channel, I share quiet and legitimate ways people build income and stability over time. So if this kind of conversations interest you, tap the like button so that I know that content like this is helpful. And in the comment section, just drop a word that describes how you currently feel about your finances right now. Alright, so if you currently have no savings, let's just take a moment and breathe. Because the first thing people usually hear is save more money. And honestly, that advice isn't helpful, especially when you're starting from zero. So what do you actually need? First is a little breathing room, because when every dollar already has somewhere it goes, then life begins to feel very stressful real quick. So I want you to take a moment and look at your current expenses and then ask yourself, where can I create just a little bit of space? So maybe it's pausing on a subscription you forgot about. Maybe it's calling a provider or just adjusting a bill. Maybe it's just temporarily cutting something that isn't essential. Nothing extreme, but essential. Even if it's $20 here, $100 there, because that small gap is actually where your first saving buffer will eventually come from. And once you've created that breathing room, the next step actually becomes easier. Now, the second thing that matters when you have no savings at all, because I've been there, is stabilizing your income. Because if money coming in is unpredictable, it becomes more impossible to build any kind of cushion. So here's a simple way to think about it. When you look at the last 3 months of your income, especially the ones you've received, let's say it looks like something like maybe month 1, you got $2,200, month 2, $1,700, month 3, $2,400. Instead of planning around the highest number, you just plan around the lowest stable income. And in this case, that will be $1,700. And that becomes your baseline income. Now, the question becomes, how do you make that number more stable? And just a few practical steps. If you are a freelancer, you want to try to secure at least 2 to 3 recurring clients instead of relying on any random one-off jobs, because it's not stable. So let's say a client pays $500 per month, another client pays $400 per month, and another one pays $300 per month. So now you already have $1,200 predictable income every month because new work comes in. And if you are employed, but you pick up extra work here and there, just need to find one stable activity that reliably brings in $200 to $500 or $1,000. And this could be tutoring, maybe 2 students a week. It could be also managing one business social media, or maybe selling digital product that consistently bring in a few sales every week. The goal is not to chase big wins. The goal is predictable cash flow that you can plan around, because once income becomes a little bit stable, then you can finally move to the next step, and that is building your first financial buffer. Not a huge emergency fund as everybody would say, but just your first $100 to $500 to $1,000. Now, number 3, once you've built that first small cushion, maybe 500 or 1,000, there are a few traps that will always set people back in this stage. And the first one is suddenly increasing spending. This can be very tempting. You start feeling a little bit more stable. You want to upgrade on some few things. You want to eat out more often, maybe make a small purchase that doesn't seem like a big deal. But when those small increases add up, they basically just slow down the little progress you've made. Another trap is treating the cushion like extra spending money, because that cushion isn't there for convenience. It's there for true disruptions. And I'm talking about the things that you couldn't have responsibly planned for. Things like maybe a car repair, a medical bill, or a sudden bill. And one more trap to be aware of is trying to move too fast into investing before stability is built. Now, when it comes to investing, it's important, but when someone has no financial buffer yet, it is actually not your first priority. Stability is in this case. Because if an emergency happens, you don't want to be forced to pull money out of investment or go back into debt. So the idea here is quite simple. Protect your first savings or your first buffer. Before we jump into the last one, it's important to know that the way people work and earn is changing, and have been building something in the background to support that shift. And it's called Anywhere Income. It's a community around skills, remote work, and building income intentionally. So we're going to be opening enrollment very soon. If you want to be notified, the link is in the description and it's also pinned to the comment section. So let's keep things going. Now that you finally stabilized your income and you've started building your very first cushion, there's one more thing that becomes very important. And it is something that most people underestimate. And this is protecting your reset period. Because when someone is rebuilding from zero, the next 6 months is very important. This is a period where you quietly rebuild stability. And sometimes that means keeping a lower profile for a while. Saying no to certain invitations, skipping events that usually lead to spending more money, creating a little distance from people or environments that pressure you to spend more money, especially the money you're trying to build. So this will not go on forever, but this phase is basically about focusing and discipline. So you are basically rebuilding your foundation. So it's important that you disappear for a few things for a while, and it is perfectly okay. Even if it means redirecting money that would normally go to social spending into your savings, that is also okay. Think of it as rebuilding window. The next 6 months or maybe a year is a quiet period where you stabilize your finances and protect the progress you've made. Because once that foundation is solid, you can always return everything else with far less pressure. So, if you're currently having no savings, I want you to remember this. The goal isn't to fix everything overnight. It's simply to follow the right order of priority. First thing is to create a little breathing room in your expenses. Second is to stabilize the income you already have. Third is to build that first small cushion, even if it's $25 to $50 at a time. And once you begin seeing progress, protect your reset period by staying focused, keeping a low profile if needed, and just give yourself time to rebuild properly, because starting from zero doesn't mean you're failing. It just means that you are at the beginning of a reset. So now I would love to hear from you. I want you to drop one word in the comments that describes how you're currently feeling about your finances right now. And if this video helped you think about money a little bit differently, tap the like button. It really helps this channel. And also make sure to subscribe. And remember, you don't need to be everywhere, especially when you're trying to rebuild. I wish you all the very best, and don't forget to watch the next video. Take care and bye for now.